When any substance is heated, the particles in that substance start to move faster. In solids, the particles move by vibrating around fixed positions. This vibration gets faster when the solid is heated. As the particles vibrate more vigorously, they take up more space. Vigorously means with more energy, more speed and more force. That means solids expand when heated. Expand means to increase in size. In liquids, the particles also vibrate, but the particles are not in fixed positions. When the liquid is heated, the particles vibrate faster and move around faster. Again, as the thermal energy increases, the particles take up more space. That means the liquid expands when heated. In gases, the particles are far apart and move in straight lines until they collide with another particle or the walls of the container. When the gas is heated, the particles move faster and collide with more force and more frequently. The particles will take up more space in a heated gas, so gases also expand when heated. When particles are vibrating, they will push against the particles beside them. The faster and more vigorous the vibration of the particles, the greater the push. This will cause the particles beside to vibrate more vigorously as well. This is how thermal energy is transferred by conduction. Conduction of thermal energy works best in solids where the particles are close together and can only move by vibrating. The diagram shows how thermal energy is transferred by conduction through a solid. Metals are the best conductors of heat because of the way the particles are arranged. The electrons that are free to move in a metal help to pass along the vibrations. Fabrics, such as wool and cotton, and plastics are poor conductors. Just as with electricity, the opposite of a conductor is an insulator. We say that poor conductors of thermal energy are good thermal insulators. Conduction in a solid transfers thermal energy by vibrating particles hitting into each other and passing on the vibrations. Some objects are made from materials that are chosen because of their ability to conduct thermal energy. Look at the pan in the picture. The pan is made from metal because metal is a good conductor of thermal energy. That helps the food to heat faster. The handle is made from plastic because plastic is a good thermal insulator. That makes the handle comfortable to touch. The spoon is made from wood, which is also a good insulator. Clothes for cold weather are made from materials that are good insulators. That slows down the conduction of thermal energy away from the body. Conduction does not work well in liquids because the particles move around more when heated, rather than just vibrating. Conduction also does not work well in gases because the particles are far apart and the collisions are not very frequent. Conduction cannot happen in a vacuum, as there are no particles to vibrate in a vacuum. When liquids and gases are heated, the particles move faster and take up more space. Taking up more space means the volume increases. The number of particles does not change, so the mass of the liquid or gas does not change. Density, na changes mass, na volume. From this equation, you can see that when volume increases and mass stays the same, then density will decrease. Imagine a gas or liquid that is heated at the bottom. The particles at the bottom will start to move faster and take up more space. This part of the liquid or gas will become less dense and start to float up through the colder, more dense parts. This upward movement of warmer liquid or gas is called convection. Colder, more dense parts of the liquid or gas then sink down to occupy the space. These colder parts are then closer to the source of heat, and they get heated. The particles in these parts then occupy more space and start to float. This movement around the heated liquid or gas is called a convection current. The convection current causes all of the liquid or gas to eventually become heated. The diagram shows how a convection current heats all the air in a room. The next diagram shows how a convection current heats all the water in a cooking pan. Convection can happen in liquids and gases because the particles are free to move. Convection cannot happen in a solid because the particles are not free to move. The particles in a solid can only vibrate about fixed positions. Convection cannot happen in a vacuum as there are no particles to move.
How do particles in solids move? What does expand mean in this context? Why do liquids expand when heated? How do particles in gases move? What is conduction? Which materials are good conductors? What are insulators? Why are pan handles made of plastic? What is convection? Why can't convection happen in solids? What is radiation? How does the sun transfer heat to Earth? What affects radiation emission? Why are metals good conductors? What happens in a convection current? Why can't conduction happen in a vacuum? What is emitted by hot objects? How does radiation travel? What slows conduction in cold weather clothes?